Connecticut, one of the wealthiest states in America, home to some of the most expensive zip codes in the country, elite universities, and a coastline that could pass for southern New England's Riviera. But not every town tells that story. Today we're counting down the 10 most dangerous towns in Connecticut, ranked by a composite score combining both violent crime and property crime rates per 100,000 residents, sourced directly from 2024 FBI data and Connecticut's own Division of Criminal Justice. And I'll tell you right now, Connecticut is still one of the 4 safest states in the country. Even our most dangerous cities would rank as average or below average in places like New Mexico or Missouri. But within the state, the disparities are real. And if you live here, or you're thinking about moving here, you need to know where the risk concentrates. Let's get into it. Before we get into the rankings, here's exactly how we built this list, so you know the data is solid. We used the 2024 FBI Uniform Crime Report, cross-referenced with Connecticut's own Division of Criminal Justice Annual Data Report, which breaks down crime rates per 10,000 residents for every municipality in the state. We weighted violent crime more heavily, 60% of the composite score, because a robbery or assault has a fundamentally different impact on a community than a car theft. Property crime makes up the remaining 40%. Both rates are per capita, so small towns can absolutely appear on this list if their numbers are high relative to population. All right, let's count it down. Norwich sits at the confluence of 3 rivers in New London County, and for most of its history it was one of Connecticut's most prosperous industrial cities. That era is long gone. Today, Norwich has a violent crime rate of roughly 206 per 100,000, nearly double the state average, with property crime adding another layer of risk for residents. What's driving it? A stagnant economy, limited job opportunities, and a poverty rate that's significantly higher than surrounding towns. Here's the context, though. Norwich is still considered safer than most cities in the country. This is Connecticut. Even our most dangerous towns would rank as average in many other states. But within the state, Norwich consistently makes these lists, and residents know which streets to avoid after dark. New London is a small port city at the mouth of the Thames River, home to the Coast Guard Academy, a major submarine base, and unfortunately one of the highest crime rates in the state relative to its size. With a total crime rate roughly 46% above the national average, New London's numbers are alarming for a city this small. Property crime is the bigger driver here. Thefts, burglaries, and vehicle theft are disproportionately high. The city has faced decades of economic decline following the loss of manufacturing jobs, and poverty remains deeply embedded in certain neighborhoods. There's revitalization happening along the waterfront, and the military presence brings stability to some areas, but the crime data tells you the work isn't done. East Hartford sits directly across the Connecticut River from the capital, separated by just a bridge, but worlds apart in safety statistics. Despite being home to major employers like Pratt & Whitney, East Hartford has struggled with concentrated poverty in certain neighborhoods, and the crime rate reflects that. Violent crime runs well above the state average, and property crime, especially vehicle theft, is a persistent problem. This is a city of real contrasts: aerospace engineering jobs on one end, distressed neighborhoods on the other. The data captures the gap. Meriden sits in the dead center of Connecticut. Literally, it's sometimes called the crossroads of Connecticut, and it lands near the middle of this list. Once a silverware manufacturing hub, Meriden's economy has never fully recovered from deindustrialization. Poverty and unemployment remain higher than the state median, with a violent crime rate approaching 250 per 100,000 and over 1,600 property crimes per 100,000. Meriden is consistently one of the more dangerous mid-sized cities in the state. That said, areas like Hubbard Park and the Reservoir are genuinely beautiful. The city has bones. It just needs investment to match. Welcome to the Brass City. Waterbury was once the manufacturing capital of Connecticut, the brass capital of the world, in fact. Those days are long behind it. Today, Waterbury has a violent crime rate of 322 per 100,000 and a property crime rate of nearly 2,900 per 100,000. That means roughly a 1 in 34 chance of being a property crime victim. Drug and gun-related incidents are a persistent headline. In one notable 2024 bust, 3 brothers were arrested after authorities seized an AR-15, a ghost gun, and large quantities of narcotics. Waterbury is Connecticut's third largest city, and it carries the weight of decades of disinvestment. There are neighborhoods here that have seen almost no economic recovery since the 1970s. Crime is down from its peak, but Waterbury still ranks among the top 6 in the state, and that's not a list you want to be on. Derby is a wild card on this list. It's tiny and fewer than 13,000 people, but its per capita crime numbers are startling. With a violent crime rate of 314 per 100,000, Derby ranks among the top 7 most dangerous cities in the state for violence, despite having a fraction of the population of cities like Hartford or Bridgeport. That's the per capita effect. Fewer total crimes, but concentrated in a small population, push the rate sky high. Economic hardship, proximity to larger struggling cities, and limited municipal resources all play a role. Derby is proof that this isn't just a big city problem. Small towns aren't immune. Bridgeport is Connecticut's largest city. It's also, consistently, one of its most dangerous. With a violent crime rate of 393 per 100,000, nearly 190% above the state average, Bridgeport sees more total violent crimes than almost any other city in Connecticut. In 2024 alone, the city recorded 587 violent crimes, including robberies, aggravated assaults, and homicides. Here's the nuance. Bridgeport has made real progress. Violent crime is actually down from where it was 5 years ago. The 2024 data shows meaningful declines year over year. But progress and dangerous are not mutually exclusive. Bridgeport remains a city with deep poverty, concentrated in certain neighborhoods, and the crime statistics reflect that reality. It's also worth noting, Bridgeport has waterfront development, a growing arts scene, and housing prices that are attracting buyers priced out of Fairfield County. This city has 2 stories running simultaneously. New Britain is home to Central Connecticut State University and has one of the most diverse populations in the state. It's also the 3rd most dangerous city in Connecticut. A violent crime rate of 421 per 100,000 puts New Britain at 210% above the Connecticut average. That number is hard to ignore. Theft and vehicle theft dominate the property crime figures. Over 360 cars were stolen in the city in 2024 alone. Drug activity and concentrated poverty in certain blocks drive most of the violence. The city has been working on community policing initiatives, but the data shows the challenge remains significant. New Britain has real assets. Walnut Hill Park is one of the most beautiful in New England, and the food scene reflecting the city's Polish heritage is genuinely worth the visit. But on the safety index, it consistently ranks near the top of the wrong list. Hartford, Connecticut's capital. the insurance capital of the world, and the second most dangerous city in the state, with a violent crime rate of 516 per $100,000, 279% above the state average. Hartford has long struggled with the contradiction of being a wealthy state's capital while harboring deep, entrenched poverty. In 2024, Hartford recorded 620 violent crimes and over 3,400 property crimes. There were 21 homicides. The city also led the state in arson. Here's the context that matters. Hartford's poverty rate is among the highest of any city in the United States. Not just Connecticut, the country. The disconnect between the wealth of the surrounding suburbs and the conditions in the city's core is one of the starkest in New England. Downtown Hartford has seen hundreds of millions in investment. The Colt Gateway Complex, a revitalized Bushnell Park, new restaurants and nightlife. But those gains haven't reached every neighborhood, and the crime data shows exactly where the line is. Crime in Hartford has been declining, and that decline is real and meaningful. But it still ranks second on this list, and that tells you how far there is still to go. Number 1. The most dangerous city in Connecticut, New Haven. Let that sink in for a second. The home of Yale University, one of the most elite institutions on the planet, is also the most dangerous city in the state. New Haven recorded 734 violent crimes and 4,923 property crimes in 2024. That's a violent crime rate of 534 per 100,000, 293% above the Connecticut average. Assaults, robberies, vehicle thefts, all at the top of the state charts. And this isn't a one-year anomaly. New Haven has topped this list for most of the past decade. The story here is inequality. Yale University has an endowment of over $40 billion. The neighborhoods surrounding it, New Hallville, Dixwell, Fairhaven, have poverty rates exceeding 30%. That contrast between immense institutional wealth and concentrated neighborhood poverty is the defining feature of New Haven's crime problem. Law enforcement has made real strides. Violent crime is down from where it was several years ago. Community intervention programs are showing results. But in 2026, New Haven remains Connecticut's #1 most dangerous city by every metric we looked at. And if you live here, or you're considering moving here, know the neighborhoods. The difference between a safe block and a dangerous one in New Haven can literally be a single street. So what do all 10 of these towns have in common? Poverty. It's almost always poverty. Connecticut is the wealthiest state in America by per capita income. But it also has some of the most extreme income inequality of any state in the country. The gap between Darien and Derby, between Greenwich and Hartford, that gap is what drives these numbers. The good news, Connecticut's overall crime rate dropped 12.5% in 2024. Every single category of violent crime went down. Property crime fell nearly 17%. This state is genuinely getting safer, but the progress isn't evenly distributed. And until investment, jobs, and resources reach the communities that need them most, these same cities are going to keep appearing on lists like this one. If you found this video useful, drop it a like and subscribe. We cover the socioeconomics and demographics of New England every week. And if you want to know the safest towns in Connecticut, that video is linked right here. I'm your name, this is Northeast Intelligence, and I'll see you in the next one.